time, but legends never fade, they rise. From the wreckage through the storm, a new command is born. Convoy returns, brighter than the dawn. Star convoy rides where hope is gone. Nature's burning, justice wakes, the spark survives, the future
Good
shakes.
gravy. There is so much mecha-coded magical badness going on here that I almost don't even know where to start. But he's in robot mode, so I'm gonna start there. He looks great. If you like these kind of designs, the real, like, you know, almost about to become Gundam back end of G1 look, then you're gonna love this guy. If you like Star Saber, if you like Victory Leo, then this guy has a lot to offer. If that's not your cup of tea, the more stylized proportions and the sharper look, then he might not be your cup of tea, but he is throwing all the right angles for me to be a fan, despite the fact that there are very few right angles on him. I will say right off the top, he does feel a little bit hollow, and there's like I don't quite know how to describe the plastic quality, but it feels thinner than what we're used to for a Titan class. I know he's smaller than the average Titan, but I didn't expect everything about him to feel smaller. Deco-wise, he's looking very solid. The blues are super rich, the red is nice and saturated, the gold shines in all the right ways, and then it's all beautifully offset by the grays and blacks. Man, look at the way those big chest windows are catching the light. He's cool. One thing that I must say is a little bit of a bummer, and you won't often hear this from me, is they opted for light piping on the head sculpt, which normally I love, but if we fold that noggin down, you can see it's only these two little panels here where the light can actually get through. So I don't know what kind of lights you'd have to be using to actually activate that, but it's not lights that I have any kind of access to, which is a shame, because it is a truly memorable head sculpt. Everything Optimus pushed up to 11, it'd just be great if those eyes were shining back at you. I've tried several times over the years to put out a Titan video. Several of them I've started shooting, but the scale of it has always ended up taking so long that I've had to move on to other things with the intention of coming back, but never actually doing so. Hopefully, if you're hearing this, it means I finally followed through in a good way. So there is a heck of a lot to get through in this video, so I'm gonna try and move through at a reasonable clip. But before we get into everything that Star Optimus Prime can do, or Star Convoy as he is more commonly known, and probably how I'm going to end up referring to him, because Star Optimus Prime is annoying to say, whereas Star Convoy sounds dope. Alright, so before we get into all the wonderful things that this guy can do, I thought I should articulate to you his articulation. So that head is on a swivel, no ball joint because it does need to fold down as part of his gimmickry. So you can get some pretty cool, you know, looking down, angry eyebrow poses. But the further you go, the thinner it does make his neck look. Now, I already know that this is going to be a gosh dang editing nightmare because every single joint is ratcheted out the wazoo. But shoulders, all the way around, up to not quite a 90. Bicep swivel, 90 out of that elbow. Wrist swivel, open your fingers. Waist swivel. Now, his waist, it does have just the big skirt, and the skirt can't even quite go all the way up. You can cheat it a little bit by making it a double skirt, but that's horrible and I don't want to do it. Which means the legs only go up to here before you're going to run into any interference. But you know, with clod hompers like those, you don't really need to go much further. He does have side skirts as well, which means he can kick real far out to the side. Thigh swivel, and knees that actually go a lot further than I'd thought they were going to, but because of his proportions, he's one of those figures that can sit down on their own calves. Then he also has ankle tilt, which is pretty impressive considering how much this actually ends up coming apart for transformation. And I love the fact that you've got this piece that you can see sliding in and out there. Very cool. No toe back, a little bit of toe forward. Right, so obviously his smaller size was represented by a smaller cost, but I had hoped that he might have, you know, at least had his trigger finger be articulated independently. I've said it many a time before, but the apron skirt is my least favorite way of handling this. Like, they're sculpted to move as a 1-2 piece, and for a Titan-sized figure, I don't think it would have been outrageous to think that they actually did that. Similarly, I must admit, I do find it somewhat irksome that there's no ball joint on that head. And a figure this size, I really had expected for there to be some kind of butterfly joint there. For how obscure a character he is, I almost would have rathered see this done as a HasLab figure, because then you would have those extra details and extra points of articulation from the higher part count and admittedly higher price that would have really pushed him over the edge. But I mean, given his size, he's a big stompy guy. So the shapes that he can throw, I'm okay with, but I must admit, I did expect a little more. I'm also a little disappointed to say that the thinness of the plastic does not gel well with the strength of the ratchets. It does feel as though eventually something's gonna give. I do find he's at his best when he's just looking casually intimidating, when he's throwing hero poses, monologue poses, just kind of standing there as the ultimate nuclear deterrent. Also, there's no real way around it. You are gonna find most shapes you try and throw him into, his own legs are gonna get in his way. He just looks so good. So look, his articulation isn't amazing, but he does have a lot going on. And whilst, you know, a higher part count may have led to a better actual action figure, he has more than enough bits and pieces to still, to me at least, make it feel like he's worth picking up. So we've already established he's got his cool shoulder guns, which are articulated for shooting anything that's above him, which I guess is pretty cool. Anti-aircraft guns, pew 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 pew. He then also comes with this great honking gun, which is very cool. I do wish it had a more substantial handle on it. Like as it is, it kind of just lightly pegs in, and then it's got this extra tab that goes in the back of his hand to help stick it in there more. I don't know, it's awesome, but a longer handle would have hurt no one. I'm also going to use this point in the video to show off another accessory that had me perplexed for a hot minute. This like, I don't know, 303 looking round. This hell piece of artillery. I couldn't find anywhere in the instructions that gave any inkling as to what this actually does. And then just now, I was like, I wonder if, bam, you can put a fat round in that fat gun for some mega violence. And then obviously such a big round is gonna lead to a big result, and boom, he's got this monumental blast effect. Is it not pretty nice to have a new blast effect in the mix? Pew! Also, speaking of blast effects, he comes with a plethora. All effects we've seen before, I think they're, if I'm not mistaken, if I know my blast effects, which I am not confident that I do, think they are Siege, Jetfires, and Omega Supremes. Does that sound right? Someone will tell me if I'm wrong, but I do like the kind of pearlescent quality that they have. It's quite cool. You also have his gun stand thing that is much more impressive in other modes, but he can, which is a nice touch, use it as a smaller handgun. Same little nubbin to get it in, but it does sit there pretty good. It's hard not to still enjoy the odd blast effect here and there. Interestingly, he also has a bunch of those siege nubbins to make it look like people are wailing on his legs.
We held him down and we just wailed on his legs.
He does also have a little bit of a Russian nesting doll thing going on. So you can pop open those cantankerous calves, and that gives you access to a little bit of storage. So I guess if you wanted to, and you could keep blast effects and stuff, but on this side, we also have this piece. This seemingly innocuous piece serves a variety of different functions. So, first thing, you can take this great honkin' blast effect, plug that in there. Suddenly, homeboy's got himself a lightsaber. Pretty cool. Just because of the shape of it, it's kind of more of a light cudgel than a saber. But from a dude this big, that kind of blunt force laser trauma is bound to leave one hell of a repair bill. And because it is just a 5mm port, should the mood take you, you can actually swap that laser blade out for all manner of laser blades. So, you know, now he's got this fondue fountain sword, or this cyber pineapple. Also, should you somehow find that this great honking gun is neither great nor honking enough for your taste, you can go ahead and plug this bad boy in here, and then take this guy and stick him on the top. Now, the instructions would have you believe that for super gun mode, this nubbin will fit in the barrel of this gun, and then somehow they think that there's enough tension to then plug this guy in up here, and then that gun will stay there. It really doesn't want to. You can get it to stay, but it's incredibly delicate. You can also, with a little bit of finagling, get it to work the other way, and I found that that sticks much more thoroughly. I'm honestly not sure what the point of this is, because you're turning a really big gun, I feel like still ostensibly, into just a smaller 2-gun. Maybe it has more power to those beams, and they can cut through anything, but it's something you can do, so I thought I'd show you. Alright. Then it just wouldn't be an Optimus Prime figure without a little chest pop in action. Interestingly, no Matrix to be had here. Only this little 13th Prime doodah. This little fishbowl cocktail. Oh no! It's alright, I found it. No wait, that's the wrong fishbowl. Here's the fishbowl I was looking for. There must be some good reason why it's so tiny and why it feels so undersized, but that is yet to be revealed. Mark did say in the last live stream event to make sure you're collecting all of the artifacts, because presumably they join together for some kind of ultimate MacGuffin. There it is, really nicely sculpted inside. And you might be wondering, why such a cavernous space? Well, for that we're gonna have to go back down to his other babushka boot. So, behind door number 2, we have a really Super Sentai-esque pack-in vehicle, a carrier vehicle, which I have noticed is a real pain to get out once it's in. Also, while we're here, look how thin that plastic is. With how well some of these things attach, I can just see scenarios where people end up inadvertently cracking some of this stuff real easily. I've also found these back shin bits, those calf treads, are real prone to flying off during that process. But anyway, now we have this vehicle. Just go nesting doll style. What? It's got a little hot rod in there. This thing's cool, and it has a lot more to offer than just housing a hot rod, but we'll come back to that later. So this little cretinous crepe is actually not too bad for how little he is. Bigger than your standard Micromaster. He feels quite nice. For a little mini comparison time, here he is alongside the OG's version of this little hot rod. I do wish he'd been the darker red, like this. I always like my hot rod to be that real oxblood, almost maroon, as opposed to fire engine red. But there you go. Child was born just the other day. And here he is with a traditionally sized Micromaster. So he's much more akin to actually being a core class figure than Micromaster this time round. But that's cool. I must confess, I do wish he was a little more traditionally Micromaster sized, because he is meant to hang out in there as he's home away from home. But the only way to really do that this time round is to make him sit in there like this. And that's awkward. You can't close it up. The original version, when Hot Rod's in there, it does feel like he's actually in some kind of command station. So, by way of a quick comparison, let's first get him in there alongside the original. And as you can see, our boys had quite the glow up. Not that I don't love that original toy, but I always thought it came out much earlier than it actually did, because it's got just such a chunky robo aesthetic. And then let's take a look at him alongside. You forgot about me, Prime. I too have been resurrected. If we bring back the OG for a second, you can see that inside of that chest, you can store a lot of those extra weapon stand bits that have multiple functions when he's in his different modes. Then also the command station actually has some stickers for some decals and things. And like Rodimus can actually sort of hang out in there. At least more so. Like he can't stand. He can get some work done, reply to his emails, take a break, have a Kit Kat. And to show that he's definitely still bringing the heat size-wise, here he is alongside Age of the Prime's Superion. So he still dwarfs that boy, and he's already a big boy, which makes him a bigger boy. We'll take it back a couple of years and get him in there alongside Super Mode Armada Optimus Prime. Not so super no more. And have a look at how he looks alongside a real Titan. Here he is with Tidal Wave. So as you can see, bigger than most, smaller than some, but the way he does it so well. So we've also then got, and now I'm even more back, Prime. What are you gonna do now? How you like me now, huh? Again. Let's double down on the Gundam effect and have a look at him alongside Victory Leo. Suddenly, not so victorious after all. Bet you regret turning him into Star Saber's shoes now. Alright, so, next stop, vehicle mode. Away, away. Fist fold, closed, bend. You twist and shuffle, closed, bend, up, chest down, wheels out, head drop, closed, fold up, wheels out, panels up, back around. Delt covers forward, wheels up, click clack jack, waist twist, panels out, panels down. Get the legs all straightened together. They're gonna need an almighty click-clack. It's a scary sound. Flares out, flares up, peg in. To get these pieces to sit in with their corresponding tabs and dots and dots and tabs, you really need to make sure that he is completely upright. You'll know if he's not because they won't play along. Flimsy! Around this side. Open up those legs, crotch down, close legs. Then, the final and most important step, toes down. This is one hell of a slab of laid down sleeping bag robot. Just look at this behemoth, would you? He is massive. This would have to, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this would have to be the biggest truck former vehicle mode like ever. Probably pretty close to the biggest terrestrial vehicle mode we've had before. Cybertron Metroplex would come close. He's taller, but he's not this long. And you know, he's not your traditional vehicle. He's mining equipment. But yeah, it's a long truck. Big old truck.
Can you name the truck with four-wheel drive? Smells like a steak and seats 35. Canyonero, Canyonero.
You can, of course, as is the custom of our people, get in there and arm this up even more. So as well as his directional anti-aircraft cannons, he's got that big mumbo jumbo bazooka down the middle. And then there's like a trailer hitch notch, which is where you can go ahead and put this guy on the back. I like to think of that as the rear gunner support. Man, talk about your war rigs. So we come down the back, you get access to these gates, which with my hammy fingers are hard to get access to. And what to me seems like a colossal misdesign, Hot Rod's food truck can't actually back out down this driveway. You need to still open it up like before and go through the arduous task of trying to pop that thing back off of its struts. Which I can't lie, right? I can't lie to you. The difficulty associated with getting this thing out, it's a bit of a joy killer. Honestly, that's just crazy to me that you would not do this in such a way as to have this guy drive up inside. It just feels like you're ignoring the rules of your own play pattern. And then the front fell off. Hot Rod by himself can drive in. It is big enough that you can have other friends come over to play. Some other small deluxes might be able to make the trip, and obviously all your Micromasters can. But when this piece is too big to drive through the garage doors, and Hot Rod's too big to sit inside Star Convoy's chest, you do find yourself wondering, why did you make it that big then? I think most people would have been happier for this to be slightly smaller and actually be able to correctly use all of its functionality. You know, a not quite core Hot Rod is cool, it's a cool little figure, but if it had been an actual Micromaster Hot Rod, then everything would have worked much more the way you expect. There's not really any way around it. This is an obscene and ridiculous vehicle mode. And I know that as a kid, I would have lost my mind for something this huge and epic as a truck. Imagine how many more dudes Optimus could have taken out in the 86 movie if he'd been rocking this alt mode. By way of a quick comparison, here he is alongside Earthrise Optimus Prime. And just by way of a final comparison, here he is alongside Tidal Wave. And so with that, there is but one thing left to do, and that is base mode. So let's take these off for now. Step 1, detach roller. Then we're gonna wanna open the legs up, unclip these bad boys. Fold the cod piece back up, bring this, fold that back up too. Now, we can lay him down. You're gonna wanna fold the cod piece up, sit homeboy up, and then we've got this handy stand to help stabilize him. Gonna fold this bad boy down. From here, twist that to the side, fold that back up, get these bits back, tab down, tab that apart, get that out the way, head up, get these back in for a second, and then you're pretty well just transforming the torso back into being a dude. And then point his head down. Now we want to get roller back on scene. Fold these bits out. Then these treads actually split to make this fold out even further. You can use this port here to peg on to that stabilizing stand. Now open up that chest for that little command center. And I guess you got yourself a base going. Get that gun in that hand. And apparently the base should also have a lava fountain. Because why not? Now this is also where Hot Rod's going to come into play. And the Micromaster carrier. Now, if we take Garrett the Garbage Man Garrison, get Hot Rod out of there, we can take this little fella, take off the end, and flip out these guns for a little extra shooty bang bang. He has this peg port business going on, which corresponds over here, so he does semi-mount. It's not bad, gives you a little extra cover. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and perch a minicon in there to shoot with his feet. Hey, that's something, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So the next stage in our tour, if we come over here, we can take Hot Rod on that gun, plug it in here to this port, and then with this little, you know, handle, he can be a twisty boy, so long as he gets out the way of Star Convoy's fist. Shoo, shoo, shoo. I got one!
Great kid! Don't get cocky!
And when he's done ineffectually over there, he can, of course, cozy up in his book nook and, thanks to the Zodiac, find out his horoscope for the day. I'm an Aries. Uh-oh, Saturn's returning. Probably my favorite thing about this base mode is that all the ramps retroactively work with your other base builders. So if the mood strikes you, Star Convoy can kind of become the ultimate starport by linking up with some of your other sets for a real big base build. So look, is this one of the better Titans we've had? Probably not. His articulation is a little bit cantankerous. His plastic feels thin. He's an odd size for the dude he is and how you need to play with him. But is he a good toy? Flip yeah. He's so much fun. This is the kind of figure that I would have been all about as a youngster. But then that begs another question, because this clearly isn't a toy aimed for kids. He's based off an obscure character from the early 90s. There's no current supporting media that would lead any child to encounter this figure. So really, it is for us. It is for adult collectors. And for an adult collectible, he's that little bit too toyetic to quite hit the market I feel like he's really designed for. I think he would have been better off being a little bit more compact, a little bit tighter, and being a commander class as opposed to a Titan. Or, if he is going to be a Titan, I would have happily done away with the rotating turret gimmick to up the parts count on the main robot itself and have him do a little bit more. Now, do I still love him? Yeah. Do I have any buyer's remorse? Heck no. I love the character. This figure is tons of fun. He looks great. And what's more, Star Convoy really reminds me of when I first started getting into collecting at kind of, you know, the dawn of the internet. When it wasn't super easy to find a YouTube video or a wiki that told you all about these characters, so you'd kind of have to do a little bit of deep diving. It felt like, you know, deeper lore to know who these characters were, and there was so much to find out. And I can remember finding out about Star Convoy and then picking up that reissue, and it was just a really exciting time to be a collector. So the nostalgia is strong on a number of fronts, all of which culminates in me being super glad that they made this figure, super glad that I had it, but he's not perfect by any means. So I'll be really interested to hear what y'all think about this one. Have you got him? Are you going to get him? Do you think he's worth it? Is this how you would have liked to have been given Star Convoy? Is he worth all the hoopla? Let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Let's chat it out. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, way to go, you little legend. And until the next one, catch.